Picture this. You are Oba Femi. You have spent your entire life building a body that looks like it was sculpted by a god who had too much time on his hands. You have dominated NXT like a force of nature nobody could tame. You have stepped onto the main roster and steamrolled through everyone in your path: Braun Breaker, Solo Sikoa, Rey Mysterio, Kit Wilson, Johnny Gargano. All of them fell at the altar of the ruler. You waltzed into the Royal Rumble in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, entered at number 1, and went nearly 40 brutal minutes before anyone even came close to sending you over. You are 27 years old, built like a Nigerian war god, and the entire WWE Universe is buzzing about your name like they haven't buzzed about a newcomer in years. And then out of nowhere, a theme song hits. A theme song so iconic it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And Brock Lesnar walks down that ramp, and for the first time in your career, even you feel it. That chill. That presence. Because the question is no longer if these two monsters will collide. After this past week, the question is when and whether Obafemi is truly ready for what Brock Lesnar is about to bring. Welcome back to Wrestling Impact, the channel where we break down every layer of the stories that make professional wrestling the greatest spectacle on earth. I'm your host, and today we are diving deep into one of the most electrifying slow burns the wrestling world has seen in years: the unavoidable collision course between the most dominant newcomer in WWE, Obafemi, and the most dangerous man to ever walk through that curtain, Brock Lesnar. Buckle up, because this story has layers. Let's start at the very beginning, because to understand why this warning from Brock Lesnar matters so much, you have to understand who Obafemi actually is. Isaac Odugbeson was born in Lagos, Nigeria, on April 22, 1998. He grew up watching professional wrestling with his eyes wide open, idolizing Triple H and The Undertaker, two men who carried themselves with an aura that filled every room they entered. He was a track and field athlete, a shot putter, winning medals at the Nigerian University Games. And then WWE found him. Not the other way around. WWE found him through their Next in Line program, signed him in December 2021, and brought him to the Performance Center in Orlando, where he began transforming from elite athlete into something the wrestling world had never quite seen before. When Obafemi finally debuted on NXT television, it was clear almost immediately that this man was different. There was a stillness to him, a controlled ferocity, like a lion that had learned patience. He won the 2023 NXT Breakout Tournament. He won the NXT North American Championship. He became a two-time NXT champion. But the moment that truly announced him to the entire world came on December 13, 2025, at Saturday night's main event, against Cody Rhodes. In a champion versus champion match that ended in a no contest after Drew McIntyre's interference, but not before Femi went toe-to-toe with the undisputed WWE champion and looked every inch his equal. The WWE Universe leaned forward in their seats that night and asked the question out loud: who exactly is this man? And then came January 31, 2026. The Royal Rumble, held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in front of a roaring, electric crowd that was buzzing from the moment the show went live. Obafemi entered at number 1. The first man in. The most dangerous spot in the Rumble, or at least it used to be, because nobody told Femi that surviving 30 or 40 minutes from that position was supposed to be a heroic achievement. He treated it like business as usual. He eliminated 5 competitors. He threw bodies over the top rope like he was tossing luggage off a moving train. He was dominant. And then entry after entry, the eliminations kept piling up, and somewhere in the back of the arena, the crowd started to sense it. There was a particular electricity building, a collective breath being held, a whisper spreading through 30,000 people at once. Because they all knew who was coming. The buzzer hit, and number 20 and out walked Brock Lesnar, the Beast Incarnate. Back in WWE after a 2-year absence. Back after returning at SummerSlam 2025 and making it abundantly clear that whatever chapter he is writing in this final act of his career, he intends to write it in capital letters. The crowd absolutely detonated. And for a moment, just a moment, Obafemi stopped. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. Because some people you can see from across the arena, and you just know. These two giants locked eyes across that ring, and everybody watching at home, everybody in that arena, everybody on social media, had the exact same thought at the exact same second: this is the match we need to see. They circled each other like two tectonic plates about to collide. They measured each other. There were no cheap shots, no immediate explosion, just two predators sizing up the only other predator in the room who could possibly match them. It was chess, not checkers. It was two apex competitors conducting a silent negotiation right there in that Royal Rumble ring. And when Lesnar finally struck, when he sent Femi over that top rope, the elimination stung, but it didn't diminish the ruler. If anything, it elevated him. Because you don't get Brock Lesnar's personal attention unless he thinks you're worth it. You don't get that kind of focus from a man who doesn't respect weakness, because Brock Lesnar doesn't acknowledge weakness. He acknowledges threats. Now here's where the story takes a fascinating and complicated turn, because professional wrestling is never just about two giants having a staring contest. There are layers beneath the surface, and this week those layers began to peel back in ways that should have every single WWE fan talking. Reports began surfacing from sources with solid track records backstage that Brock Lesnar and his camp have communicated something very specific to WWE Creative. Something that puts Triple H and the entire booking team in a genuinely difficult position. The message, as it has been relayed, is essentially this: Brock Lesnar should not be taking losses before his retirement. He should leave this business with his aura intact, his legend unsullied. And that demand, folks, is creating real tension behind the scenes. Think about what that means for a second. WWE's head of creative, Triple H, reportedly wants to give the fans the two matches they are screaming for most as this WrestleMania season builds to its crescendo in Las Vegas. He wants Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. He wants Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar. Both of those matchups are money. Both of them are the kind of once-in-a-generation spectacles that people would talk about for decades. But here's the problem hidden inside that dream: if those matches happen, someone has to win. And in both cases, with Gunther as the current world heavyweight champion, with Obafemi as the unstoppable future of this company, the logical, story-driven conclusion is that Brock Lesnar loses. That a legend passes the torch. That a king makes a king. But if Lesnar's camp is digging in and saying no, then suddenly, the whole puzzle shifts. And Brock's WrestleMania 42 Open Challenge, which he has publicly announced, leaving the door wide open for any opponent, becomes the most fascinating piece of real estate in all of professional wrestling right now. Let's talk about what Obafemi himself said this week, because his words were remarkable in how direct and confident they were. In an interview that hit the wrestling world like a thunderclap, Femi was asked about all the comparisons fans and media make between him and Brock Lesnar: the physical similarities, the raw power, the dominant presence, the ability to make every other performer on the roster look like they're operating on a different level. And Femi didn't deflect. He didn't do the humble dance. He leaned into it. He talked about what a legendary run Lesnar has had: the UFC Championship, the multiple WWE title reigns, the Royal Rumble win, the sheer unchallenged dominance over a decade and a half of professional wrestling. And then he said something that every single person watching needed to hear: that match is going to happen, one day soon, and the fans know it. The fans are calling for it. And when it does happen, it ends with the ruler standing over the beast. Now imagine you are in the building the night that match actually happens. Imagine the pyro going off, the lights dropping, and that iconic Brock Lesnar music cutting through the arena like a machete. Imagine Lesnar walking out, jaw set, eyes forward, that explosive intensity radiating off him in waves. The crowd is somewhere between terrified and euphoric. And then Obafemi's music hits. And this 6'4", 300-pound Nigerian powerhouse steps through that curtain, surveys the crowd, takes in the magnitude of the moment and smiles. Because he has been waiting for this. He has been building for this. Every match in NXT, every championship reign, every Royal Rumble elimination, every dominant performance on the main roster has been a brick in the foundation of this moment. The bell rings. And for the first time in a very long time, Brock Lesnar is in the ring with someone who doesn't look small next to him. Someone who matches his energy pound for pound, inch for inch, intensity for intensity. Lesnar shoots for a takedown and Femi sprawls. The crowd gasps. Lesnar shoots again, faster, more explosive, because Brock Lesnar is nothing if not adaptable, and Femi defends again. And now there's a murmur building in the arena, a collective realization spreading like wildfire: this young man was ready. Femi fires back with a shoulder tackle that actually rocks Lesnar backward, and the crowd comes completely unglued. Because when was the last time somebody rocked Brock Lesnar on first contact? Lesnar's eyes go wide, not afraid, never afraid but recalibrated. Oh, says the look on his face. Oh, so this is how it's going to be. They brawl. They throw bombs. The ring shakes. The crowd chants alternate between Brock and Oba, the entire audience split cleanly down the middle the way only the most magical, electric encounters can split them. Lesnar hits a German suplex, and Femi bounces up. Femi hits a running power slam, and Lesnar staggers. They are destroying each other beautifully, and somewhere in the commentary booth, someone just says quietly into their headset, "This is why we watch this." This is exactly why. Now, whether that match happens at WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas, or down the road after this open challenge plays out, the groundwork has been laid so powerfully that WWE almost cannot afford not to pull the trigger at some point. The Royal Rumble interaction was a test, a deliberate creative temperature check, and the temperature came back scalding hot. The fans want this match. They want it badly. And Obafemi has made it crystal clear that he wants it too. The only remaining question is Brock Lesnar, and whether the man known as the Beast Incarnate is willing to do what only the greatest legends ever do: step into the ring with the future, and help make it the present. There is something poetic about where Brock Lesnar is in his career right now and why this rivalry with Obafemi feels so right, on a level that goes beyond just the physical spectacle. Think about who Brock Lesnar was when he arrived in WWE over 2 decades ago. He was 24 years old, impossibly athletic, terrifyingly powerful, and he walked into this company and immediately disrupted everything. He wasn't supposed to be so dominant so fast. He wasn't supposed to beat The Rock for the undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam 2002 at 24 years old. He wasn't supposed to make every veteran on that roster look ordinary, but he did. Because Brock Lesnar has never been ordinary. And now here comes Obafemi, 27, Nigerian, built like a monument to athletic perfection, stepping onto the main roster and doing the exact same thing. Disrupting, dominating, making everybody else look ordinary. The symmetry is almost too beautiful to be accidental. And maybe it isn't accidental. Maybe Brock Lesnar looks at Obafemi and sees something he hasn't seen in a very long time. Maybe he sees a mirror. And maybe that is why, instead of ignoring the ruler the way veterans sometimes ignore hungry upstarts, he eliminated him personally in that Royal Rumble. He didn't have to do that. He could have let someone else do it. He chose to. And when Brock Lesnar chooses to do something, it means something. It is a message. It is a declaration. It says, I see you. And when I'm ready, we will settle this. That is the warning. Not a promo, not a contract signing, not a backstage confrontation, at least not yet. The warning is the act itself. The personal elimination. The locked eyes. The deliberate, calculated acknowledgement from the most dangerous man in the history of this industry to a young lion who has the audacity to think he can take the throne. Brock Lesnar has sent that warning to Obafemi as clearly as if he had written it in fire across the sky over Riyadh. And Obafemi? He received it. He understood it. And he is not afraid. That is what makes this story so compelling at its core. This is not a story about a monster intimidating a lesser competitor into submission. This is a story about what happens when an unstoppable force meets something it has never encountered before: another unstoppable force. It is a story about the past and the future existing in the same space, sizing each other up, both refusing to blink. It is, in many ways, the definitive story of WrestleMania season 2026, even if the powers that be haven't fully committed to it yet. Because the story is already being told. It is being told in elimination sequences and locked stares and interviews where a young man from Lagos says with absolute certainty, this match is going to happen, and I am going to be the ruler standing at the end of it. So what does the WWE Universe do now? We wait. We watch. We pay attention to every promo, every entrance, every backstage segment, every social media post from both camps. Because this feud, and yes, let's call it what it is a feud, even if it hasn't been officially acknowledged, this feud is about to become the thing everyone is talking about. And when Brock Lesnar steps into that ring for his open challenge at WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas and that music hits, whether it's Obafemi's or someone else's, the entire wrestling world is going to be watching with held breath and racing hearts. Because that is what Brock Lesnar does. And that is exactly what Obafemi was born to do. The Beast has sent his warning. The ruler has heard it loud and clear. And we, the WWE Universe, are the lucky ones because we get a front row seat to whatever comes next. That is going to do it for today's episode of Wrestling Impact. If you made it to the end of this video, you are exactly the kind of wrestling fan this channel was built for: someone who loves this sport, loves the stories it tells, and loves diving into the details that make those stories unforgettable. If you got chills anywhere during this video, hit the like button right now, because it genuinely helps this channel more than you know. And if you are not subscribed to Wrestling Impact yet, what are you waiting for? We are in the middle of the hottest WrestleMania season in years, and every single week we are bringing you the deepest dives, the best breakdowns, and the most passionate wrestling content on this platform. Drop a comment below. I want to know, do you think Obafemi vs. Brock Lesnar happens at WrestleMania 42? And if it does, who walks out the winner? Let's talk about it. I'll see you in the next one.